So then I went and found a vitamin A emulsion. I forget the company, but there's a company that was making it. And I lived in Manhattan, so I had access to several of the pharmacies that have really cool dietary supplements. And so I started taking that, and I was doing what I called pulsing because that came into the picture around the same time. And that meant I would do something for a month and then go off for 2 weeks and go on for 5 weeks and go off for a week and back and forth. So for 14 months, I more or less pulsed vitamin A, and every week of a month, I would do 300,000 IU and then go down to 150,000. And again, it continued to reduce, but it never disappeared. I kind of compared it to the half-life of nuclear radiation waste, nuclear waste, because you never reach the half-life. It's, 10,000 years or 50,000 years. So I had the same thing. It would reduce or reduce. It never disappeared. And then I said to the surgeon, Deborah Axelrod, please remove these 4 tumors that are now very small, and I want to hear everything about their pathology. So they're surgically removed, and she tells me in the report they're now very high in estrogen and progesterone, ER and PR positive. And they're also, it's very well differentiated, and most of the tumor is necrosis, meaning dead cancer cells.
Yeah.
So I was happy, happy. Clearly worked. And and I said, by the way, when you look back at my original pathology, it wasn't very ER and PR positive. It was positive, but it was small. It was like under 30, and now it's over 90. So
Yeah.
I said, I think vitamin A makes your tumor more ER and PR positive. At least it did it for me. And then that year, 1998, I went to San Antonio to the Breast Cancer Symposium, which was a very big meeting for doctors interested in breast cancer. And it's in San Antonio, Texas. And a lot of advocates were starting to go. And there was a program that had begun by local advocacy group where they actually had scholarships for advocates to be there. So we were a legitimate part of the meeting. And some of us, like me, we ask a lot of questions, and we step up, and, that's what I did. So that first year, 1998, I was asking a million questions. But my number one question, and I was going to cancer meetings starting in 95, so this is not new for me. But the question was, is it okay to use dietary supplements, antioxidants, with chemotherapy? And every meeting where I asked this question from 1995 on would say, the response was, well, we don't have any studies like that. No one's really looking at that. We really don't know. And so I asked year after year after year, and finally, hey, it's a lot of years. Why should we not have a study? Then we'd know. Anyway, so in 98, I'm in San Antonio, and I start to say to some of the big shots, because I don't mind talking to them, they're the speakers, I go up and I say, look, what do you think about high-dose vitamin A and creating higher ER and PR numbers, maybe changing from negative? And without everybody said, oh, yeah, that can work. Why don't we do it? Why don't we do it? Because it's a natural substance and we can't patent it, so we don't do that stuff. And that's been the answer all along. Big Pharma says to me in meetings publicly, they're fine about it from the stage. Oh, Ann, we can't patent that.
Oh, really? They actually admit that?
Yeah. And then there's nothing to say. So the conversation is over. But, I'm a patient advocate. Really, I don't give whatever that they say that, because it means nothing to me. I'm an advocate for people with cancer, not Big Pharma. So the subject should not be dropped, and I've never dropped it. That's why I started the Anti-Appleseed Project, went online in 1999, because I had information that mattered, and I wanted people to know about it. So the other thing that happened to me at the San Antonio meeting, which was amazing, I met Dr. George Wang, a Chinese herbalist, 4th generation. He was the head of the herbal treatments at the Strang Cancer Prevention Center in New York City. And he said to me, I heard about your circumstances, my 25 tumors on the left side, 14 after mastectomy, not your typical USA profile, probably any developed country profile. And he said, I think I can help you. So I'd already done, acupuncture, so there was something to be said, but it's scary. I go home. And in April, I said, I have this, so December, January, February, March, April. Finally, I said, I got to call this guy. So I call him, we meet, he says, well, you'll have to give up your protocol to do my herbs. I said, no can do, bud, no can do. It's a lot of years have gone by since I've kept myself alive, and I don't want to give up what's working for me. So finally, we agreed that I would do it my way, and he prescribes for me, and I go down to Chinatown and I cook up the tea and I'm drinking it, and everything's interesting. First day, my whole body turns into a hive. Every drop of skin on my body, raised hives on my arms and legs. Excuse me. everywhere. It was amazing. So of course I was scared.
Mm.
My friend, the acupuncturist, was out of town. I couldn't talk to her. I didn't know what to do. Anyway, I stopped the herbs. 3 days go by. The hives are gone. And what do you know? My chemical sensitivity is so different. The symptoms changed, which I call an objective change. So instead of having these terrible dizzy headaches where I felt like a knife was stabbing me in my head, I now had throat clearing, but not in a scary, choking way, just a little extra mucus in my throat. And I felt subjectively that the intensity of my symptoms had reduced by about 60%. Now, this is a 3-day period. So what I think happened, and what subsequently is discussed with many professionals, is that my immune system had this gigantic jump, and it fought back. It woke up from its deep sleep, and it fought back, and the chemical sensitivity retreated. So, and now, after this was April of '99, now I have a more normal life. I have a mask, which I travel with, and I still use it continually when I need to. But I no longer became violently ill or 2 or 3 days worth of illness. Now I had 10 minutes and I got better. So it was amazing. Even if it didn't cure the cancer, it would have been amazing. But I didn't get any more tumors. So now I go through, and 10 months later, he says to me, "Oh, you're done." And meanwhile, the prescription was changing constantly because, Chinese herbal prescription, it's about the person in their circumstances at the time. So it was a constant thing. I mean, I could never say to anybody, and lots of people ask me, "What did you take? What did you do?"
Yeah.
It's not like that because anyone doing Chinese herbs would do their own treatment, not
Right.
mine. So, and my treatment changed a lot. So it would go along, and I would, and so 10 months he says to me, "Oh, you're great, you're done." And I didn't want to stop because I was nervous. So I said, "I got to do it a little longer." So 4 months later, I said, "Okay, I guess you're right. I haven't had any tumors in a long time. Looks good." So then I had an MRI before I started, showing that I had cancer on the chest wall, 3.5 centimeters involved. And then I had an MRI when we finished. So the MRI, I get a call from a doctor who's reading the MRI, and she says to me, "Why'd you have a chest wall MRI?" And I tell her the whole long sad tale. She says, "I'll call you back." An hour later, she calls. She says, "I just do not see anything." But, everyone listening who's ever had, you want your doctor to tell you. You don't want a voice on the phone to say, "Oh,
Yeah.
everything's great." So I had an appointment with my doc, Deborah Axelrod, because I wasn't seeing an oncologist really by then. So I go to my surgeon. And my appointment with her is September 12th, 2001. Now, everybody in the U.S. knows that September 11th, 2001, the day before, was our 9/11 big tragedy. So no buses were running, no subways were running, the taxis weren't out, there were no private cars on the road. I walked the 2 miles to the hospital, and I went to see her. I wasn't sure she was going to be there. And she was at St. Vincent's Hospital at the time, which was the trauma center, the designated trauma center, but there was nobody went there because they either were fine or they died. So it was a funny day. So I meet with her, and she says, "Well, we don't see anything. It looks like you're free of cancer." And she says, "We're going to give you the diagnosis of NDD, no discernible disease." Now, I have my own diagnosis along with everything else that I had that was mine because everybody else gets told NED, no evidence of disease. But I have NDD. So that was okay. And I'm fine. And she says, "I'm going to tell everybody." She tells everybody, and everyone's rejoicing. Me too. I go outside. I'm standing at the corner of 7th Avenue and 15th Street looking down. I can see the smoke rising from the wreckage of the World Trade Center, and I started to cry. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe it. I'm going to live. I'm alive. Everything's good. And people rush over there hugging me. "Oh, don't worry, we'll be fine." And in me, I'm like, I'm crying from joy. It was weird. It was weird. It's such an excess of emotion. So that was great. And that was September 2001. And now I'm going to celebrate my 22 years of cancer anniversary, January 11th. But since 2001, I've had no tumors and no anything else. Now, not that I didn't occasionally wonder. I had back trouble for a while. Oh my gosh, and I had a bone scan, which, and that's a joke too, because I think I know so much. So I said to them, "Oh, I have to see the cassette." So they begin the cassette to take home. I look at it and go, "Oh my gosh, everything's lit up. Oh no, oh no." And the next day get the report, nothing's out of order at all. Doesn't help to know a little, really. But in any case, my work has been going to meetings. It's been gathering information, been trying to find stuff, not just for myself, because I've been good for years, but also because I saw it.
Just before you go on to that, Anne, you said that you used the the herbal remedy to begin with for 3 days.
Yes. Well, I
And
went
then,
back to it after I realized that I was okay. And I
okay.
took the herbs for 14 months. He wanted me to stop after 10 months, but I was nervous about that.
And how did you choose your herbalist again?
He met me at the San Antonio Breast Cancer Symposium, and he was there presenting a poster, which he does every year. And
Okay.
he's a very competent gentleman. His his family are all medical people of some kind or other. They're scattered all over the world, the Chinese diaspora. And he'd been in New York. He attended Harvard and got a PhD in biostatistics. And, he was very smart. And he was interested and respectful to me. And probably everyone's already figured out already that I need that. I wanted to be treated like an individual who mattered. And he
Uh,
was very much doing that.
That's something I've noticed from what you've been saying is that you follow some sort of guidance inside of you um, about what's okay for you and what isn't.
Well,
Would you say?
yeah, I think the thing is, there's no way to know for sure what's right for any individual. But I felt that I had to be the person who made the final decision about what I would do. And it was very important to me to make that decision based on my personal risks and benefits. I mean, it's like a classic thing. Like if someone says, "Oh, I found a lump," I go to the doctor and they say, "Oh, it's nothing. You're too young to have a cancer." Well, that's crap. You can't accept that. Now, lots of times, and the majority of times, lumps are nothing. But if somebody really feels like, "Oh, I have to have this examined because this is just not right," they're probably right. And you can't dismiss your own intuition. So that's what I was trying to follow. I can't say I'm always right, but I'm more right for me than someone else might be because
Absolutely.
I know what I need and I know what's important to me and I know what I'll do. And I also feel like people have to do what they are comfortable with. And I can't tell you how many people call me and say, "I can't do that 4 times a day." So I say, "Okay, do it 3 times a day, whatever
Yeah.
it is, just give that a shot because why do that which tortures you? For example, I hate wheatgrass. I hate wheatgrass. I can't stand the smell of it. It makes me sick. So why would I do wheatgrass, to help myself get better? And I say the same thing to people. If you hate the idea of it, don't do it. For me to make dietary changes was easy. I'd already chosen to be a vegetarian, then I became a vegan, only organic. That was easier. It was steps along the way. And that's the other thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too because it's what I've treated a lot of people, helped a lot of people with alternative
That's great. Yeah.
approaches to cancer, and a lot of people say, "Oh, I must do." They are insisting on, "I have to do this diet, even though I hate it and I feel really bad about it." And as I've said to them, that doesn't help your immune system. If you're if you're not enjoying what you're doing, if you're not feeling good about what you're doing, then that's not helping your immune system, and it's not going to work. I think you're completely right.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like since one of my theories has always been there are many paths to wellness. So don't go on the path that doesn't make you feel well. It's just not going to work out. And I think your mind and your body have to be more or less on the same page. And they can't be that if you're doing something you hate doing. And there are so many things you can do that why do the wrong thing? So that's a sad thing in some ways because people who have done chemotherapy or radiation who then regret it, have to tell them first of all you can't regret because you can't go back. You have to go forward. You can get well, you can get stronger, you can get healthier. I have proven that in my own personal life because I
Absolutely.
started out 2 or 3 days a week in bed, and now I don't have that. And my life is way better, and I've got my health, and I think anyone can do it. I'm not special. I just worked at it, but it's not a unique thing. And because of my work over the years, I've heard thousands of great stories from people, and I think there's a basis of similarity for everybody. I mean, you have to eat healthier. And by that, I mean real fruits and vegetables. You can't be opening a box for dinner or putting something in your microwave in a plastic wrapper. That's not going to work. You need real fruit, real vegetables. You need to be somewhat physically active. Joking around, I'm not an athlete. My husband's an athlete. I am not. So, you don't have to be athletic to be okay, but you need to take a walk or ride your bike or swim or something on a daily basis. And you need to be happy with your life. Find some things to give you joy because there's always something, even in the worst circumstances, there's joy. And everybody who's in those circumstances has found that for themselves. There's always something. I mean, for me, it's funny. I love Halloween. Not, I don't know if you have Halloween where you are, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love Halloween. So I don't give out candy. I give out organic raisins, organic juice box, and then I started giving out toys. The first year that I gave toys, I gave out whistles, little whistles. I think they had witches and ghosts on top or something like that. And, within 10 minutes, my whole neighborhood's whistling. I could hear it. And I love that. Whenever I get depressed, I don't get depressed, but, when things are overwhelming or I feel like I might burn out, I dream about whistles. I think, oh, those kids are out there whistling, and it was because of me. So that's a simple joy. Or, if you make a kid smile or laugh who's in a carriage when you walk by in cuckoo, kuchiku, I mean, that matters. And you can remember those moments, and you should. So, and then also, although that's our 3 steps for health, those 3 things, another step is detox. I think everybody has to detox because what a world we live in. We're just enveloped in chemicals, and the chemical soup is definitely part of the pattern of cancer, even though research isn't looking at it. And this brings me to an important advocacy point. In the beginning, when I was told, oh, we don't have any evidence of that, and I'd be thinking, wow, that's so sad. How could there be? The truth is, we're not looking. We're not looking for the evidence. If we don't look, we can't find it. And then we could say with complete deniability, hey, we don't have any evidence on that. And that's completely ridiculous because were things to be studied, we would clearly see the environment we live in, totally fake, totally false, full of plastics, full of chemicals. That's really part of the problem. Because, it's like they're discovering all these genes that are related to cancer, but we didn't get any more genes than we ever had before. My grandmother had the exact same number of genes as I did, and she didn't have cancer. She lived to 93. The fact is, it's the way our genes are being impacted by our environment. But because we don't study it that way, we can say, oh, there's no evidence. Oh, no, nothing to do with that. It can't be. It's complete crap. But that's what you learn as an advocate, that there are all these issues that need to be explored. I used to say to people, I really feel this way, scratch an issue and there's a real issue there. There's so many. And so what I've noticed about the advocate community, and there's a very strong advocate community in the whole world, but especially in the U.S., and everybody's kind of carved out their area where they want to work harder. And it's great because it creates this patchwork quilt of really useful things going on to help people. And it's changed the way people with cancer are treated. There is no question. And I was diagnosed, my original oncologist, who I didn't use, said to me, yoga, what are you trying to kill yourself? And he was really worried that I would kill myself by doing yoga. Mm-hmm. So, and he was sincere, I think, who knows. But now yoga is pretty much available worldwide for people with serious illness. And, it's a good thing. And there are studies, and the American Society for Clinical Oncology, which hosts the biggest meetings in the world on cancer, has had studies on yoga presented, and it's been discussed. Now, is it available to everybody? Probably not. They have to pay for it sometimes? Probably yes. That's not great. It should be inclusive, should be covered by insurance, along with acupuncture. In fact, if I had my druthers for people with cancer, I would have everybody have acupuncture, everybody, across the board, with their treatment, everybody. One thing I say to people, don't ever do chemo or radiation without complementary therapies. It's harmful. You don't hear about the harm so much as the benefits going in, but the benefits do not benefit everybody. So everybody suffers the harms, but not everybody gets the benefit. What's that? In fact, that was the first thing that I commented on when I woke from surgery, and I find out that not everybody benefits from chemotherapy, because when you're naive, and especially 20 years ago, everybody thought you just take chemo and you're fine. Hey, it's over.
I think there's a lot of people still believe that now, I'm afraid.
That's right. But one of my family issues, my father kept saying, my golf partner, she had chemo 15 years ago and she's playing golf. I'm going, Dad, you have no idea what it's like for me. I can't look at somebody wearing fragrance. I can see them 40 feet away and I can feel their fragrance. I can't have chemo. I can't. And he just didn't get it for a long time. I'm not sure he ever got it, but I think it's becoming more clear because nowadays most people know somebody who went through treatment. They saw them suffer. They either benefited or not, and they saw that. For me, 2 years before I was diagnosed, my uncle had a brain tumor as a result of lung cancer. And we took him to the hospital, and they told me, who was in charge of his health for no particular reason, I'm just the family go-to, and they said, oh, he's going to die in a few weeks if he doesn't have chemo or 3 months. He's got 3 months if he doesn't do chemo and radiation. I was like, oh my gosh. So we gave him chemo and radiation, and he died in 3 weeks. I was horrified. And I said to the doctors, what? What happened? And they said, well, there's no guarantee of anything. I didn't know that. It was a real shock.
This is Dr. Anne Curtis. Thank you for listening to part 2 of this interview with Anne Fonfa. You can go on now to listen to part 3 of the interview, or if you'd like more details, you can contact Anne directly at annieappleseedproject.org.